so much for taking the time.
And how are you?
Good to chat.
Good to chat as well.
So you run PayPal, a cashless payment system. Is cash dead? And if so, would that be a good thing?
I think cash is going to be with us for a long time. But I do think it's inevitable that all forms of money are going to eventually digitize.
So I want to talk about Venmo. A lot of people may not even know that PayPal owns Venmo. For those that don't know Venmo, kind of the popular peer-to-peer payment, all the kids are using it. Is this what you want everyone to be using for peer-to-peer payments, or do you kind of like the fact that it's really popular among the youth, and if you and I olds are using it, it's maybe not so hip?
The generation of people coming into adulthood right now, they are looking less at products and services as being transactions and more as experiences. All payments that are sent back and forth are tagged in some way with a comment or an emoji, and it makes the experience of paying friends and splitting bills and doing capabilities like that much more social.
To me, it's a crazy idea. It's basically the equivalent in the way I grew up of taking your credit card bill and posting it online.
Right.
And by default, transactions you make on Venmo, peer-to-peer transactions, are public. Why on earth is that a good idea long-term for an individual?
I think the boundaries between private and public are much more blurred than it was when we were growing up. To that generation, and we shouldn't put our values or our judgment on it, sharing and understanding what their friends are doing and what's important to their friends is incredibly reinforcing.
There's some people that say CEOs should stick to trying to make money. Why is it important to you to take stands, to have political issues, to have social issues where the company has a perspective?
The mission of PayPal is to make sure that no consumer gets left behind, no small business gets left behind. Because it's a very inclusive mission, and therefore we should stand for inclusion and diversity. So for instance, we have been looking for quite some time for a location for 400 to 600 people. We finally decided on Charlotte. And then a couple of weeks later, House Bill 2.
And this was a bill that would have taken rights away from transgender people.
Exactly. It would have allowed for the discrimination against people for sexual identity, sexual orientation. And to me, that was sort of anathema to our values. And so I felt like we needed to take action. And so we withdrew from North Carolina. It was one of the proudest moments for PayPal.
One of the other places that you've taken the company is you got the first outside license through an acquisition to do business in China. How do you square the values that you talked about with doing business in China, which typically means following the rules of the Chinese government? You know, you've obviously stood up for the civil rights of LGBTQ workers in America. What about protesters in Hong Kong?
Mm-hmm. So we work with regulators around the world. I mean, that is who we are. And so we need to learn, if you're going to be a global company, to be flexible, you need to be nimble, and you need to follow the rules of each country that you're in.
So we're not just talking about banking regulations here. I mean, China has, a pretty atrocious track record when it comes to human rights, surveillance. Don't you worry that at a certain point you won't be able to speak out on your values without risking the business that you've built in China?
We need to rise above, our own self-interests and really think about the whole. And to me, the whole is, do consumers have financial health? I think what we should try to stay away from, where we can, are political issues.
So do you not anticipate your values conflicting with doing business in China? Or
so we operate around the world trying to lift underserved populations into the digital economy is where we can provide the most value, I think, to the world's population. And I really want to stay focused on that mission because I think it will make a real difference.
And I just want to come back to it one more time because I'm a little confused. You really don't think doing business in China is going to bump up against those values?
Every country around the world has issues. Every country around the world. We need to navigate those in the way that we feel is most consistent with our values and most consistent with our mission. Not easy to always go do, but I wouldn't single out China versus any other country.
A lot of people talk, including you, about digital payments being a way to improve financial inclusion, deal with the problem of people that don't have bank accounts, etc. Some people still don't have smartphones. How does digital payments become a tool for digital inclusion and not just further the digital divide, if you will?
You can now buy a smartphone in India for under $50. So the prices are coming down dramatically. And the way that I think about it is that you now have all the power of a bank branch in the palm of your hand. Here in the U.S., 70 million adults are underserved by the financial system. 70 million. If I look at the amount of money spent on fees and what I think are unnecessary interest rates, it's about $140 billion that they spent last year.
And that's not spread out evenly. It's actually the poor that are paying more.
Exactly. I mean, there's a saying that it's expensive to be poor. Unfortunately, that's very true in the financial services industry. And so imagine if you could use technology. I think it could have a massive impact on just financial health in general.
Thanks so much, Dan. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.